tried to think of something to open this like as like a quotable line from the game, but it doesn't really have any. So let's go. I continuing to get back into video games, which is nice. It feels good to do. I am trying to find the work-life balance on that. I haven't had to integrate video games into my life for quite a while now. But I've been playing and am probably more or less done with. I might venture back once or twice, but I think I'm close enough to calling it a day on this game that I'm going to get my thoughts down on it. And that's Dead Cells. So Dead Cells is a 2D Metroidvania roguelike. So it's a game where there's permadeath. You die, you go back to the very beginning of the game. It is procedurally generated, so the layout for levels is not the same every time, but it is this kind of sprawling Metroidvania-esque level. You work your way through, you collect new weapons, and you upgrade the ones you have. You can attain certain things that are permanent upgrades, certain traversal abilities, or you unlock certain weapons that become available as something that can show up during a run, etc., etc. This is my first time playing a roguelike. I mean, like, since it's truly been solidified as a term, because, like, I've been playing games long enough. I remember 8-bit and 16-bit games that were in some ways roguelike, because, yeah, you ran out of lives or continues and you went back to the beginning of the game. Tough luck, sucker. But the procedural generation thing, that is a bit new to me in this context, because I've really only encountered that in the Diablo games. So this was new for me in a lot of areas. And what I'll say about it is, it was pretty addicting at first. But what I found is over the last couple of weeks, my desire to go back and keep playing has steadily dwindled to the point that I play it in like maybe 1-2 runs every other day, as opposed to like going through run after run after run initially when I first got it. So I'm just going to talk about my thoughts, and this is mostly going to be about, roguelikes in general, but, Dead Cells in specific. So what's kind of interesting about it for me is that initially you're unlocking so much stuff so rapidly. Be it because you are finding these blueprints for new weapons as you work your way through the game. You then have to actually unlock and make those available through spending cells, which you earn by either killing opponents or getting through a level in a certain amount of time. And so I was unlocking a lot of stuff early on. And initially, the randomization of even the starting weapons was kind of nice, because it forced me to try everything. Because the weapon available to you right when you start, there's 3 types. There's going to be a melee weapon, a projectile, and a shield, and you gotta pick which of those 2 out of the 3 you want, because you can't actually wield all 3 at once. Well, you can, but you stick one in the backpack, but you have to use a mutation to make that useful later on. Anyways, my point being, those are random each time you start, and when those are shifting around and like you've just unlocked and use your cells to open up a new blueprint, so you've got this new weapon to try and like, ooh, how's this work? But over time, as I started to solidify what combinations and what specific things work or don't work for me, it stopped becoming, a way for me to definitely try out everything, to, boy, this keeps sticking me with stuff I don't want. Now, part of this might be me, because there are certain things I'm just not good at and I've never been good at. I suck at parrying. The idea of, like, you have to really specifically time a button press in order to block something, I'm bad at. I've always been bad at that. Like, from back in my early days of gaming, when I first saw parry mechanics introduced, like in certain tournament fighters, I've always been bad at parrying. So the shields are practically useless to me. And so things like that, I found I didn't like the whips very much, and a lot of the traps I found, that's not very useful. So as I started to figure out what my preferred loadout was, I would get frustrated every time I would start a run and be stuck with things I didn't like. Now, I would have enough of a variety of things I was willing to work with that it's not like I would just start from scratch every time. I'd still work my way through on a run and see, well, maybe I'll get the chance to get something I like better as I go. But it went from, ooh, it's exciting to try a new thing to, oh God, this freaking thing again, and having very little control over that. Like, I don't know if stuff unlocks later that will give me more direct control, but right now the closest I have to control is going into a shop and, rolling dice to get a new lineup of options, but I can only do that so many times, and it still may not give me what I want, or not give me something that's better than what I'm already using. So that frustration started to build, especially as I wasn't getting very much further into the game in any given run, and so I wasn't getting new stuff to unlock. Because early on I'm finding blueprints all over the place, but then later they're becoming fewer and far between, and I'm sure I'd probably get more if I could get further into the game, but I started just hitting a wall around the same number of levels in. Now, like, I could even take varying paths, like, oh, well, this time I'll go to the ossuary, this time I'll go through the Stilt Village, or whatever, but I would still only get, like, 2 bosses. I'd get through 2 bosses and then get wiped out either trying to get to a third one or by a third boss. And that was happening very reliably. And unfortunately, because the core of your character, you always start out with the same base amount of health, and you never have the ability to select your starting loadout. So it's not like I'm getting permanent upgrades to strength or health or anything like that. So I'm always having to start from the same place. And I think I've hit the point in the game where what is helped by the unlockables, I've hit that cap. So at this point, for me to get any further, I'm either going to have to get really lucky on picking up the exact kind of stuff that I like and having it be high-ranked versions of that stuff, or I just need to quote-unquote get good and just get better at the game. But as it gets more frustrating at this point with almost every run, I don't want to get good. I'm getting annoyed. And the thing is, at this point, I've started playing Hades on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Council of Geeks. Check me out there if you haven't. Stream on Wednesdays. So I've started playing Hades, and starting to play Hades really brought to light some of the things about Dead Cells that aren't working for me, and I kind of harped on one of them already, the fact that I have no control over my starting loadout. Hades, I can pick what weapon I am going to start with. Now, you go into the first place, and what boon from what god you get, or at least what god's boon you get, that's random, and you pull it up and you don't have control over which of the 3 options you get, but you do then get to pick from those 3 options, and there's more control over how I get to start that game. And with each room and I'm not going to turn this into a Hades review because I've only just started, but with each room in Hades, it's telling me what's the reward I get for going through that room, so I can really deliberately work on the build of my character and not feel as hamstrung by the random number generator as I've ended up feeling with Dead Cells. Which is a shame, because when I started playing Dead Cells, it was really exciting. The pixel art's great, I love the general feel of it, but I gotta tell you, I'm sick of going through that prison over and over again. I'm tired of it. But I have to do it. Every time I do a run, I gotta go through the dang prison again. And I don't know if that'll happen with Hades. It might. The other thing is Hades has a story element, which Dead Cells doesn't really. It has background lore elements, but I'm not that kind of gamer. I care about narrative. I don't care much about lore. So that was also one of my barriers on Dark Souls, aside from the fact that it's also 3D third person, so I tend to get motion sick trying to play that anyways. But I'm not huge into lore. I like story more than I like lore. And Dead Cells doesn't really have one. So I don't have the interest in the story pushing me forward, which is part of what got me through a game like, say, Celeste, which was an incredibly frustrating game at times. but I did want to see where the story was going. Here I don't have that extra push, so as each run becomes more frustrating, I'm just losing steam on it. And maybe that's the way people round out their time with roguelikes. I mean, they either plow all the way through and get to the end and they're so good they start speedrunning the dang thing, or they just peter out as whatever was fresh about it is no longer that way. And maybe that's just the normal interest curve with those games. I don't know. Like I said, first time playing it. But I definitely lost a lot of my motivation to keep coming back. And I might go back a few more times sporadically or something. But no, I think I'm mostly done with it. I don't regret it. I bought it on sale. I bought it for about $15. And I've had about $15 worth of enjoyment out of it. Sure. If I'd paid full price for it, I don't know. Oh, there was one other thing I got to talk about. And again, because I haven't really done modern era gaming, you haven't gotten to hear about me complain about microtransaction or DLC flogging. But I'm just going to air and vent this one. And yes, I am sure, in fact I know, that Dead Cells is not a huge offender in terms of this kinds of thing, because a real bad offender would have microtransactions just to get you to re-roll the starting quick. It could have been terrible, and it's not. But it does do something that I think is a dick move, and I want to call it out. So there are a number of DLC packs for Dead Cells. Fine. If you like the game and you want more game, cool, get the DLC. Here's the dick move, though. The entrances to the DLC areas are available in the main game. So after I got this one traversal power through these teleport stones, I find this whole new area. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And a new exit out of the level. I'm like, oh, this is so neat. It says, you have to buy the DLC. Fuck you. If you know I don't have it, don't spawn the exit out of the level. Because that is being a dick and going, ooh, aren't you excited to be going to this? No, give us money. Screw you. And the thing is, there might have been a time where, if they hadn't done it like that, where I might have gone, oh, maybe I'll try some of the DLC and see if that reinvigorates the game. I'm not going to now, strictly out of spite. Because I think it's a dick move to literally have the game spawn a door that I can't go through. You know I don't have the DLC, don't spawn the door. That's being a dick. Alright. There we go. This has been mostly negative, I'm learning. Again, I don't regret it, my time with it, and I did have fun. I'm just, kind of done. Dead Cells. Did you play it? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon's how I'm able to afford things like video games and a Switch and be able to do any of this. This is my living at this point. Any amount you're able to help is appreciated. No big pressure, though. Like, share, subscribe also help me out, but don't worry about that either. Take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back next time you need a break. And look at you, sticking around through the credits. I appreciate that. Well, you know what? You're about to be treated to a whole ton of names going by on the screen, but there's a few of them that I want to give special attention to. My special thanks to Bookworm, Jared Boyce, MJ, Tracy Scrabbit, Vincent Paul Bartolucci, Kaylin Schwartz, Edelin, Hannah Acker, Robin Moore, Ross Schultz, and Shay Lagurle. If you want to hear me mispronounce your name, check out the reward tiers on the Patreon. But for right now, thanks so much.